right, so I'm prepping the GT350 for the trip up to the mountains, and what I thought I'd do today in the video is give you an update on the ammo system. It's been I forgot to look at the videos. When did I get this car? I want to say it's 4 months. 4 months, so I'll give you like a 4-month update on all the different products: ammo mud, ammo reflex, ammo skin, and talk to you about how things are looking. I'm going to probably do a quick, we'll feel the paint, but I'll do a quick wipe down with an auto scrub, a nanoskin auto scrub, the little sponge, do a light, quick little decontamination, and then I'm going to put another coat of skin and then coat of Creme on top of the car just to get an extra layer of protection on it. It's about time to sort of top that off. I do think that there's some there's some contamination in the paint or on the paint, so I want to get that off just to keep it nice and clean. Because we have 2 coats of Reflex underneath, I shouldn't have an issue with scratching or marring. At least I didn't when I had the issue with the contamination from my office when they paved or sealed the asphalt. So I'm going to take you through this process here today. Talk to you about how the car's done, how the ammo's held up. The thing looks great. So we're going to wash it, and then I guess you could say seal it and wax it. So I'll take you through that process here today. So here's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use Optimum Car Wash. I don't have the ammo. I don't have his shampoo or his car soap. So we'll do Optimum. We'll put some Boost in there, which is the sort of anti-corrosion. I know I'm not, he calls it winter wash, but you can use it anytime throughout the year because this would theoretically help reduce any chance of corrosiveness of the soap. So we'll see if those two play together well. We'll treat the tires with mud. We'll put some skin, which is the sealant, to top the coats of Reflex, and hopefully I'm sure there's still some skin on the car. So we'll put a top coat of this, and then the Reflex, which is the Carnauba Wax, just to give it some extra depth. And so we'll put this. It smells so good. We'll put this on top. And I'm going to be using. I'll use Nanoskin Glide. Oops. There we go. So we have some Nanoskin Glide mixed up here. I think I have it 7-to-1 diluted with the Nanoskin Auto Scrub, the fine sponge, which I find doesn't mar, or at least isn't visible. And I'll be using the Creme that I fold inside out. So let's get started. So the first discussion point would be discussing ammo mud versus using Carpo Pearl. I believe both are water-based. My observations of it after using it for whatever 4 months or however long it's been on the car is that the mud is, I don't like how it applies as much, but the mud gives me a less shiny finish. Durability seems to be pretty much the same. So, if I have a choice, I don't know. I think that, the tires are different because these are Pilot Super Sports, and then on my GT3, which I've been using as a comparative vehicle or comparative car, is the GT3 has the Carpo on it. I don't know. I think both are great. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. So the only difference that bothers me a little bit is the ammo mud gets, like, once I get to my 3rd tire, the sponge is sopping wet, so the water base or the water of the mud kind of gets a little soak. So by the time I get to the 4th tire, it does feel a little worn out, if you will. I feel like I'm smearing it on but that's just a little nitpicky thing that really doesn't matter. You could easily just grab a towel and wipe it off. But that's really the only observation. You know, the look, again, I'm sitting here now thinking, you know, maybe I prefer the look of the ammo over the CarPro. But that could just be the tires too, because the GT3 tires are more rounded, a little less stretch than these are on the GT350. But like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. Can't fit anything behind there, so that part of the wheel just kind of has to stay dirty. So we also have, I have Hydrate 2 on the wheels, which again I'm going to remove. I would remove them and coat them with OptiCoat for something like for a permanent solution, but I still am going to change out these wheels. At least I think I am. The problem is that no one's, you know, Ford Performance and iBox still haven't released their lowering springs for this yet. So I'm not doing wheels until those come out. And so I've just been continuing to hit these with some Hydrate 2, which is just putting, you know, a layer of silicon dioxide. Which, you know, the problem I have with doing just these, you know, these silicon dioxide spray sealants is that you get beading, which, you know, makes it maybe a little bit easier to clean, but are you really getting any kind of protection? You know, is it adding any element of, you know, protecting the paint, especially since I'm so brutal on them when I'm, you know, washing them like I am here. You know, we're not taking the same care that we take with the paint, so I'd be willing to bet if we got a light out, you know, you'd see these are all scratched up. And so I'd like to have something like OptiCoat on them. See, the durability of Hydrate 2 on wheels is, I mean, I just hit these not too long ago. So we're not getting a whole heck of a lot of beading. Actually, we're getting no beading, or very little beading on this. And we're only, you know, maybe a month since the last time I hit it with some Hydrate 2. So I guess while we're at it, let's hit it with quick treatment of it. So again, this is a decent, easy spray-on solution, but from a long-term protection perspective, I mean, I don't know what the results would be. And so you know, I would err on, if I was going to have these wheels as my permanent, you know, expensive wheels on the car, I would want to get something more permanent on them. There you go. Again, this is an Adams bottle, but I ran out of their rubber cleaner, which I prefer over the Shine Supply. I'm pretty sure that this Wise Guy is just diluted Simple Green. It smells just like it. I mean, I hate to speculate and make stuff up. I'm just making that up, but I'm pretty sure this is just Simple Green in a bottle. Which I'm not a big fan of using all-purpose cleaners on my car. You know, I know a lot of detailers are, but I'm not. So anyway, the mud holds up even hitting it with the pretty aggressive Wise Guy, which I have diluted a little bit more than they recommend because I think it's too harsh. These have held up and done really well. So we'll hit, or the tires have held up and done really well with just an application after pretty much every wash. Probably you know, every third or every fourth wash, I'll just skip it, but most of the time I'm going to hit it. We'll also hit the rotors with some hides after we're done washing the car. And then, you know, again, longer term perspective, if you care about the GT350, I'm waiting on something, whether I decide to do, excuse me, iBox springs, or I do the Ford Performance springs. I think I like the idea of the iBox better. The Ford Performance are going to be 7/10 of an inch front and rear. The iBox are going to be 9/10, 7/10, 9/10 front, 7/10 rear. And I may do the iBox sway bars on this, but you know, we'll see. I tend to prefer, you know, specific parts instead of, you know, like iBox is a specialist in this, but how much time in testing do they really do? I don't know. They do it for so many cars. I think most of it's done in CAD form rather than actual real-world testing. So you would hope that, you know, the Ford Performance springs would have some more testing on it, but I don't know. So I'm going to go around, clean all the wheels, clean the exhaust tips, and I'll come back to you guys, and we'll talk more about paint and the ammo system and, you know, how things are holding up. All right, let's see if we can get a little different angle here, getting our foam cannon prepped. So let's put a little bit of boost in here just for fun. A little bit of ammo boost. We're going to put some Optimum car wash soap. And I normally put about 100 mLs. Which would be, that's about 150 combined, okay? And then we'll put an ounce. I'm going to do a little bit more. I tried an ounce in the last wash video of the GT3. So let's do an ounce and a half. And I always just put it on the sponge. It's just easier, than that way it doesn't get all over the place and shoot around in the bucket. Okay, let's go fill it up. Oh, and then we'll put some boost in there too. A couple of squirts. Cool, let's go do our thing. All right, let's fill this up. Now, you know, a trick I've been doing over the last probably 2 or 3 months is that I don't fill up the whole foam cannon, because I found that I don't use the whole foam cannon. You know, the car's covered with filling it up, you know, 50 or 60 or 70, I guess about 75% of the way. So I fill it up to here. That means I need less soap. And then I don't have, you know, I don't have leftover solution in the bottle, or very little. So again, make sure you mix it up. And I find that you don't really want to shake it up, because then you'll just get a bunch of suds. But you want to make sure that you get the soap off the bottom and get it mixed with the water, because then again you'll suck all the soap out of here if you have the first inch, because the tube goes all the way down to the bottom. You'll suck all the soap out and you won't get anything done. So let's rinse the car, and then we'll film. So you can see, even dirty, the car does bead pretty well with the Reflex and Skin combo. There is no Creme on the car, because when I had the contamination issue, I didn't add Creme to it. And I'm rinsing like normal. This is just regular tap water. It's not deionized. All right, let's foam it up. So you can see, shoot, I got the whole car foamed, and I only used half of the 3/4, so I'll pour this back in the bucket. One of the things I've been noticing a lot here recently, I don't know why it's bothered me, and you know, I'm not really supposed to have an opinion on things, right? And there's no point in judging people and having these opinions that you develop from, from whatever you made up over time. But I've been struggling with the whole knockoff thing. Companies knocking off other companies because they didn't get a patent and they didn't do, the proper due diligence to, patent and protect their product, which is really time intensive, really expensive, hard to do. And then the other trick is, now the issue we have is that when you patent something, you're giving them the formula, right? You're giving them the chemical makeup. You're giving them for instance, a wash pad. But I've been struggling with having these opinions that you shouldn't, support knockoffs, and I shouldn't have that. But I just keep finding myself heading in that direction. And so, I've thought a lot about, why am I so triggered by that? Why does it matter to me? I mean, I shouldn't even freaking care. Yeah, I don't think we're going to need to clay at all. I think we'll be able to just go right over top of it. Just clean the surface and add some skin. So, why does it matter to me that there are now 10 companies making the another version of the microfiber madness pad? Why does that matter? And I think the issue is, and you can use Rupes as an example. You have all these knockoffs that all these companies are coming out with, to make a little bit extra profit margin. And maybe it's, maybe I'm coming to or jumping to conclusions. Maybe Rupes wouldn't let these companies. I've had this experience where they wouldn't let them sell the product, and so companies were forced. It's possible that some of these other companies were forced to go and get their own version or get their own tool because Rupes wouldn't let them sell theirs. I don't know. I'm making some assumptions and jumping to conclusions that I probably shouldn't. And this is where opinions get you into trouble, right? You have an opinion, but you don't have all the facts. It happens a lot on my YouTube channel where people have an opinion on something where they don't have all the facts. They weren't there. They weren't part of the the equation. So maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but something like the the Rupes LHR 15 or LHR 21, the Mark 1 or Mark 2 versions, and now you have all these knockoffs. I've used the knockoffs and I've used the real thing, and there's a significant difference. One's a Chinese version that, again, it's as if, I don't know if Rupes has a patent or not on their product, but even if they did, these companies can just change it up just enough. And then you got to have deep pockets to go after companies that are going to bite or steal your technologies. So, the whole thing is tricky. But I think that the thing that bothers me, I think why it bothers me is just there's a simple something that triggers me is when people don't honor the source, right? They don't honor, and I've learned this from my business coach, they don't honor where they got the information from or where they got the idea from because of fear that, whatever you want to make up, but, fear that maybe people wouldn't like the product. And, this is happening a lot with companies that source their car shampoo or soap or something or polish from some other company, and it's not that they're lying about it, they just don't honor the source because of fear that, maybe they won't be viewed as valid or they just don't want to. They want people to believe that they're the producers of the content or producers of the product. So I think the issue that I have with it, or the opinion, where my opinion is coming from, is just based on this lack of honoring the source. You know, I think that, you know, like take for instance Griot's Garage, who, you know, took and improved the, you know, they took the Rupes design, and, you know, they believe they improved upon the design of it, or the use of it. Now, I don't think they've ever come out and said, maybe they can't, but hey, we took, I think they did. I think they did say we looked at what's on the market and we created our own version that we believe is better. But I think that I'd feel a lot better if that was the case. Now, something like the knockoff MTM foam cannons, where it's just some Chinese junk that, you know, they just created a version of it, and people don't care. They just want whatever's cheapest. I don't know. It just bothers me. It just feels like it shouldn't be that way. You know, so I'm not one of these people. I don't have that strong, like, you've got to use American-made products. I don't have that. I think I have a strong support the source. Now, if the source isn't better, you know, if somebody came out with something and improved upon it, then I don't know. I think you have to follow, I think, competition rules. But if, you know, if it's clearly not as good, but it's cheaper, and there's no, you know, I think you need to support the producer of the product, support the originator. Otherwise, you're disincentivizing companies, people in general, to create. And so I think that if you, so let's say, for instance, again, using our example of this foam cannon that's $16 or $20 on Amazon versus buying the, you know, the MTM for $55. That's the real thing. That's certainly better. I mean, I don't know how much better. Is it, you know, is it $35 better? I would argue $35 would be, you know, money well spent if you really enjoy or value cleaning your car. But I don't know, maybe I'm jaded. Maybe $35 means a lot more to others than it does to me. I mean, that's I guess part of the equation that needs to be factored in. But it just doesn't feel right. You know, you're not honoring the source. I know some people don't care. Some people have a get mine mentality. I'm just gonna, you know, I need to save a few dollars. I need to get mine. I don't care about anybody else. But I think that if you have a different mindset, if you have the attitude that, hey, I'm gonna honor the source. I don't know that it's $35 better. I'm gonna spend the money, and you change your mindset or change your attitude of it, then my guess, my wager is that then your business, whatever you do for a living, you're going to be more successful. You're going to have a different attitude about things. And so it's going to come across differently with whatever product you're producing or selling or service you're providing. You'll end up making 10 times more just because of your attitude difference. Again, I might be blowing this out of proportion, but this is just how I think about things. You know, if I don't beat up a salesman who's selling me a car or something like that, and I don't want to be swindled or taken advantage of, and, you know, everybody likes to get a few % off, but I don't want anybody haggling with me over what I do. So I don't want to do that to others. And yeah, maybe I'm going to get taken advantage of a few times in life. Maybe I'm not going to get what's owed to me. But I just believe that, you know, I show up with a different attitude, with a different mindset, and then people can smell that on you. They can see it. They can feel it. And so you're going to attract others that have the same attitude. And you can see it in the Facebook group, the guys with the attitude, the get mine people. You know, they're looking to catch everybody slipping. They're looking to prove you wrong. And then you see the people that maybe disagree and say, look, man, I don't have the flow that you have. I wish they would get rid of the, you know, that kind of loser mentality that you can't get it, you can't make things happen in life. But you know, circumstances, luck, parenting, you know, maybe you didn't have quite the tutelage that others have had. So circumstances lead to, you know, people's plights, but that doesn't mean you can't change that. You can't go back to school today. You can't go and get a certification. You can't get the promotion. You know, instead of blaming it on your boss, that your boss doesn't value you. I think that's what happens, is that you buy the $20 foam can and you haggle for the price of the car that you're buying. You take the lazy route. You don't honor the source, and then you're never honored in return. And so you're always in this constant battle of wanting to get yours instead of just being a good steward, you know, honoring others that create great products, or going out and driving and searching for that next, you know, how to improve yourself, instead of looking at it as, you know, hey, what am I going to get out of this in every situation in life? So anyway, just my thoughts on that and why it sort of triggers me. I shouldn't have an opinion. I shouldn't be, you know, judging on that. I just think that, you know, even if my words can help, you know, 2 or 3 other people, because I know some people have the mentality that, you know, why would you do everything Matt says? I don't think anybody does that. I think that some people relate to what I'm saying. I think that some people, just like I relate to what other people are saying, that doesn't make me a sellout. That doesn't make me a follower. That doesn't make me a, someone that's gullible. It just means that I identify with the message. And so I see this in the Facebook group where people have this tendency. I don't know if it's obviously they don't like me. They don't like how I approach things. They don't like what I'm saying. But why have an opinion on that? You know, why even go there? Why not worry about your own thing? You know, I've watched some YouTube channels that I think are kind of goofy, but I don't really have an opinion. I'm going to just choose not to watch it. I don't want to fight with that person, even if they're giving improper information. I mean, I give plenty of improper information, and then hopefully I correct it. But when you don't honor the source, it's just, I don't know, it's frustrating to me. And companies that pander to people that don't honor to the source, I don't know, I don't like that. It just triggers me for some reason. Maybe it's because, you know, like this pressure washing package that I've come out with, and, you know, other retailers start biting on it. You know, that's healthy competition, I guess. But again, honor the source. You know, honor who came up with it. And then who's going to fall? So you can just say, hey, look, I saw this guy, he's selling it, I want to compete, and, you know, I'm going to sell it for a few dollars less. You know, that's the free market. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think it's attitude. I think it's the way you approach things. I think it's the way that you come across. I think people can smell that. And I understand that I come across a little odd at times, or self-serving at times. And that's not the intention, but that does happen, and it can happen to any of us. But just, you know, own up to it. You know, I own up to it, and hopefully, you know, that out of 10 people that dislike it, or dislike how I approach or how I say things, because they're reading into it, or their daddy didn't love them, or whatever other issue they have that's causing them to be triggered, like I'm being triggered by this source thing. You know, I think that if you can just check yourself out and figure it out, if I can turn, you know, 2 of those 10 and help them understand, hey, I'm just a dude in my garage just messing with products, and, you know, don't take it so seriously. Don't take what I say as a dig against you, because that wasn't the intent. I'm not even thinking about you in my comment. I'm just thinking about the discussion point, whatever it is at the time. So anyway, let's keep rolling. So car's clean. As I rinse it, I'm going to rinse it with deionized water. I'm going to feel it and see if there's any sort of spots that need to get hit, and we'll hit them with some NanoSkin Glide and then the NanoSkin, or the Auto Scrub. Something super cool. My my deionizer is still reading 0 on the TDS meter, so I'm still good. .8 gallons a minute. I'm still not using tons of resin. Plus my water's not terrible, so yeah, the resin doesn't get worn out like I guess it could. And the car pulled back a little bit, so I got to hold on to the hose. I wish that I did a little longer boom pole. I may still end up doing that, but yeah, we're good. We are pretty much contaminant free. So the car with just the skin on it is completely good. So we're good to just do a coat right over top. So I'm just gonna add some skin. We'll let that cure while I'm jerking around with some other project, and we'll come back and do the cream on top of that just to add some extra depth. All right, so let's hit the wheels with some Hydrate Serum Rust Stopper. You know, it's not a perfect solution, but it does a decent job at keeping from rust buildup. So I spray that on just prior to blowing off the car. And so I spray all 4 wheels, and then I'll blow off the excess water and excess hides. So that's stuff that you want to get if you have big brakes that are steel like these. All right, so I just blew the car off, and I want to prepare the surface for our skin application. So I'm gonna, even though this may remove a little bit of the skin that's on there, I'm gonna eraser this. So this is CarPro Eraser. Just spray a little bit on the surface. So I'm gonna use this as my drying aid, if you will. I don't know if that'd be recommended as a drying aid, but I have my really soft microfiber towels. I actually think let me try this instead. Yeah, because this stuff is grabby, I actually like the lower pile towel. So this is just a car wash towel, the right company car wash towel. I just have blue ones, but you know, you could use your red ones if if you bought my kit. Use the red ones to do this. But I think you'll want to be somewhat careful drying the car like this with eraser, because it is really grabby. We don't want to scratch, we don't want to get any toweling marks, because we're about to add a few more layers of protection to the car. But I just mainly want to do this to get all the soap residue off. So I get a good bond with the skin on top of the skin. You know, whatever ammo skin is left on the surface. So I'm going to go around and dry off the car, and then I'll do the door jambs, and then we'll come back and do the skin. I really hope this OptiGlass Clean and Protect is what I hope it is, or think it is, that I can just use this to support, you know, the glass, whatever's on the glass. And it continues to keep the beading. And I'm not one for having like super aggressive, or really care about having super aggressive beading. I just want the wiper. I want the wipers to work well when I do need them, and I want the windows to stay relatively clean and not get all smeary. And that's what Wolf's provides me. And so if I transition to doing OptiSeal, or the OptiGlass coating, and then using this to support it, I hope that combination of the two works well. Interior glass needs to be cleaned as well. So we'll get that done. Probably work on the interior tomorrow. I'll put the pedals in. We'll see how far I get today. I'm going to put the pedals in. Maybe I'll actually do the pedals between steps here, between cream and skin. So I'm going to put skin on, and then we'll wait several hours, and then put a coat of cream on top of that, which is the Carnauba Wax. So I'm going to do all the windows with that. We'll come back and put some skin on. Before my wheel's completely dry, or wheels and rotors completely dry, I'm going to do the little pull up back and forth a couple of times. So let's do that really fast. I find that doing that little trick helps to make sure that we don't end up with rust all over the wheels. So the combination of hides and then the pull up back and forth, well, while just gently applying the brakes, helps to get rid of the glaze of humidity that's sort of built up on it, so they don't rust over and shoot orange dust all over the wheels. Here's the little, the Ivan LaCroix trick to cut the end off of the applicator pad, and then you flip it inside out, and we've got a little finger pad. We'll try it with the skin, see how it works. Just like normal with chemicals, we want to shake it up. And this is AMMONYC, which is a polymer sealant. Put some on there. Get it on the car. Now, this is one of those things where the more you put on, the harder it is to get off. I just want to get this primed so it moves smoothly across the paint. And this stuff smells fantastic. It smells like Real Man, like some sort of Real Man cologne. So because my pad was just primed, I guess you could say, got a little bit more on here than I'd like. We'll kind of spread it around. And so I still love the philosophy, the Ammo or Larry's philosophy of layers of protection. And I'm still not a huge fan of the look of a coating. I like this, I like this process. I like how this works. Now, I think I'm gonna put OptiGloss coat on the S2000. We'll kind of see how it does. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I still like the look of wax and sealant, that combination. Call me archaic, call me old school, but I just like how the paint looks. I like how water reacts. I like that if I wanted to take it off, I could. There's no permanence to it. It's just a preference. Especially now that I have 4 cars, 5 if you include Michelle's, but I have 4 cars, and so I can take my, I won't need to treat these as often because I'm not putting as many miles on them. There'll be more of this where I just do a little update to it, a little maintenance topping. I'm just adding more product. I'm not completely removing it and polishing it. I'm just adding layers on top of the layers that are already there. you know, as they begin to slough off, I'll just add this extra little maintenance addition to keep the paint maintained, keep it beading, keep it protected. I don't do the trim with this. I have the trim protected already with either Wolf's trim coat on the plastics and Geon trim on the rubbers, on the rubberized plastic around the windows. I actually really like the design of how the headlights sit underneath on the, you know, on this version of the S550 Mustang. I feel like the headlight lenses will last a lot longer because of this little protective covering over it. So what we'll do with skin, by the time I finish the car, get all the way around, so I'm going to put one coat of this on because there's still some on the car. So again, what was on the car was 2 coats of Reflex, which is the coating, it's not a ceramic coating, so you don't want to call it a ceramic or a glass coating. I tried to get out of Larry when we were at Mobile Tech in Orlando. I tried to get out of him what's in it. He wouldn't spill the beans. You know, honestly, I don't really care. But it's not glass, it's not ceramic. You know, it's not magnesium oxide or silicon dioxide. I don't know what's in it. But again, it has less permanence, which in my opinion makes it look more wax-like. It's more appealing to me. Easier to remove, easier to deal with than most coatings. And so we have 2 coats of that on here. And then I had put 4 months ago, I mean, you can go back and check the videos. I don't know exactly when I did it. But you can go back and look at, you know, we can go back and look at the dates. But several months ago, I had put a single coat on top of that, a coat of Creme. And then I had the contamination issues, which was, I'm certain now, because I haven't had any additional contamination issues with the, in my parking lot being sealed, that black tar stuff. And so just from it settling in the air, it got on the paint and contaminated it. So I had to do the, you know, get the auto scrub out and remove probably the layer of wax. Okay, so I'm gonna go around the whole car. By the time I get back, this will be cured. We'll wipe it off and then we'll let it sit for, I don't know, 3 hours or so. It's really humid. So I don't know if it'll actually cure really well, but we'll let it sit for several hours while I'm probably do the pedals, maybe even do the hood actuators, or whatever, the hood pistons, whatever the hood props. And then we'll put a coat of Creme on top of that. So let's hit the tires with some mud. Use a new side of the block. So you can see mud is black. It's pretty thick. I'm going to drop a little bit. So what you'll see, and I'll show you once I get over to the last tire, is that it's super moist, which does reassure me that it's water-based and I'm not absorbing some deadly chemicals into my skin here as I'm too lazy to get out some gloves. But it goes on a lot less shiny than pearl, but they both kind of give a similar result. I dig it. So again, it's hard for me to explain. You'd have to try it for yourself. But it does differently than pearl does. Both of them, I think, are much better than Atom Super VRT. So if you're still using VRT, I would recommend you make the transition. I was a VRT guy. It took me a while to convert to pearl. And then since I bought, you know, the vast majority of the ammo system, just to test out, because I really identify with the brand and with the, you know, Larry behind it, the brand, so it just made sense. So let's go around to the other side. I also feel like, again, just doing my best to make up observations here. I feel like I never have to come back over to mud and wipe off excess. Where pearl, I have a tendency to need to do that. Part of the water is me grabbing water off the ground, but so it does get a little, the product does kind of feel a little watery. Anyway, but it's great stuff. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. Mud has a tendency to be a little less shiny. Maybe doesn't last quite as long as pearl, but both are really good products. All right, so here's what skin looks like on the paint. Now we're going to remove it with my wax removal towel, like so. This doesn't come off as easily as Power Lock or Jessicar Power Lock Plus, but it's not hard to get off. Where's our cat, Katie Bell? I don't know. Hey, don't mess with this thing. I don't know. Careful. Don't knock the camera over. So my lesson learned on the old GT3 and my scratching the paint situation, which, you know, is inevitable. I mean, you're going to have marring. You're going to need to polish the paint. If you drive the car and you wash it, that's what's going to happen. But we can certainly limit it by continuing to put layers of protection on the car and doing stuff like this, doing these little maintenance updates, adding some sealant and some wax. Same thing with a coating, you know, maintaining whatever's on the surface, keeping it on this, you know, keeping a layer of protection on the surface, using drying aids, not going so long in between, you know, updates like this. So that way we can always keep some protection on the surface, which then in turn will limit, well, not eliminate, but limit the, you know, any damage to the paint. So I'll go around, wipe off the car, I'll let this cure for several hours, and then we'll come back and put some cream on top of it just to give a little extra depth and another extra layer of protection. All right, so our last step of getting the GT350 exterior ready to go. We'll have to get the interior dialed in here in a minute. But I'm going to put some traditional paste wax. This is Ammo Creme on the surface, just to add some depth, clarity, and extra protection. So we're going to put a really thin layer of this traditional wax on top of the ammo skin that's already on the car. And so we'll do the same procedure where, you know, cover the entire surface. By the time I make it back around, it'll be essentially hazed over, set up, and ready to remove. Now, just like any wax, you don't want to put too much of this stuff on, because then it becomes really difficult to get off. Now, granted, we are putting it on top of the polymer sealant, so that will make it a lot easier to get off, but you still don't want to cake this stuff on, trust me. It'll make your life miserable attempting to get it off. So while I thought I was going to be working on the interior and doing the pedals and everything, that was about 4 hours ago. I think I've had 5 different phone calls, scheduled the S2000 supercharger install, got 5 different packages from UPS. So I unboxed my Toda exhaust. You know, so if you guys are GT350 fans, you probably don't give two craps about that. But if you're a car fan in general, that's big. So my Toda exhaust is here. So make sure you go check out the channel. I'll have the unboxing video up there. But this is what I do. I take on too much. I need to slow down and just enjoy this. because now I'm like, man, I need to get this wax on here because I need to go play with the S2000. So we scheduled the Kraftwerk supercharger install for June 19th. And I'm going to do it at LHT Performance. John from LHT just called me, so we're going to do it there. AEM wideband, AEM ECU, bigger injectors, new Clutch Masters clutch, all getting done after I get back from the mountains. Awesome, so awesome. Oh man, about to hit 100K, 100,000 subscribers. I don't know how many new wealth management clients I have. Thanks to all you new clients who are dealing with me. Not being super demanding, allowing me to do everything. It's awesome. Awesome, awesome. You talk about living the car guy. At least what I would want my version of a car guy dream life to be. I'm living it. All right, so I'm going to go around. We're going to do the whole car, and then I'll wrap up our discussion on ammo and where we're at, and wrap up the video here in a few minutes. All right, so let's finish this up. Just put the Creme, which again is a paste wax, a traditional Carnauba paste wax, and so I just finished putting that on the entire exterior, I didn't do the windows or the trim, but the paint. And so, my assessment of the ammo and doing the ammo treatment or the ammo exterior stuff, the mud is great. Doing the wax and sealant and of course the reflex. I don't know, man. I think this is still, I have Colonite, I have the Power Lock and Colonite on my GT3, which is a great combination. I don't know, I really like this setup too. I like them both. So I'm not sure. It's going to take me more time to determine which I prefer, which will be my go-to. They both look fantastic. Now I have both cars, dialed in. I just did the GT3, just say, a month ago. And now I have this sort of up to date, just did a little 4-month refresh. Again, no polishing needed. The Reflex seems to be doing really, really great underneath here as a solid barrier, as the sort of the base coat for this. But again, my typical preference is wax. I like the look of this. I like how this wax looks. I like how it reacts to water. I like the depth and clarity that you get from it. I like the fact that Reflex is not your traditional coating. I don't have to deal with some of the deficiencies of a silicon dioxide, whether you want to call it ceramic or glass. I don't like having to deal with the water spotting. I don't have those issues here. And and I tend to not leave, like if a bird craps on my car, I'll just wipe it off. I won't leave it on there for days baking in the sun. So a lot of the advantages of a coating are lost on me. Plus I really enjoy this process of taking care and really dialing in the car, doing this to it. So again, I'd highly recommend this system. What I'll do in the description is I'll put links to the products at AMMONYC. Again, I don't get anything from this. I just like the products, and I've become friends with Larry since. But I'd tell you if I didn't like it. And so I'll put links to the products just so you know, because he has a lot of different things, and I don't use all of them. So I'll put links to the exact products that I use and have used on this car, specifically. So that'll hopefully take out some of the questions of which products, which regimens do you need to actually buy, or I don't want to say need to buy. You may want to buy them all. It might not be a bad idea, but you know, I'll share with you what I'm using. So again, the depth, the clarity, the feel, to be able to just spend an afternoon or a morning and an early afternoon and dial this in is really satisfying. So anyway, thanks for watching, and clearly this is crazy. Stay tuned for more of it. I can't wait. Because what happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor.